You've probably heard of Mother Teresa of Calcutta, a Catholic saint who went to India to do charitable work. But was this woman really a saint on earth? Did she really do good things for needy Indians? In this video, I will bring you information that few people know about and that they try to hide. Biographers have already raised controversies regarding her fundamentalism and also about the origin of part of the money raised by her institution. There is also discussion about the quality of the care provided to the poor and even a questioning of her faith based on diaries in which the religious woman stated that she did not feel the presence of God. That's right. What I'm going to talk about here is information given by historians and volunteers. In his book, The Missionary Position Mother Teresa in Theory and Practice, the British journalist and writer Christopher Eric Hitchens presented the mother as an opportunist who moved among a conservative elite and skillfully presented the situation of the Indian poor in order to fatten the coffers of her congregation. Christopher said, "When asked if I knew anything about her work among the poor, I replied that I had walked with her through Calcutta and had come to the conclusion that she was not so much a friend of the poor as a friend of poverty. She praised poverty, sickness, and suffering as gifts from above, and told people to accept these gifts with joy," he wrote. And this is not an opinion. Other historians make it clear that she believed these calamities were part of divine tests and people should accept them with joy because that would bring them closer to God. But there are other controversies surrounding her and her charitable actions. Christopher claimed that Mother Teresa's famous institution in Calcutta was in reality nothing more than a primitive hospital, a place where people went to die, a place where medical care was scarce if not non-existent. On the other hand, he emphasized that when she needed, she flew first class to a private clinic in California, which is not a surprise, right? Apparently, she earned more than 30 million a year, which was a very large amount for her to provide better conditions for the most needy, but she did not do this. According to the historian, the large sums of money raised were spent mainly on building convents in her honor, he noted. She had befriended a series of wealth swindlers and exploiters from Charles Lincoln of Lincoln Saves and Loans to the unsavory Duvalier dynasty of Haiti, accepting generous donations from both that had in fact been stolen from the poor. To illustrate his point, Hitchens cited that Mother Teresa received dirty money from the lawyer, banker, and real estate developer Charles Keaton, who was arrested in 1991 in the United States for fraud. Mother Teresa wrote to the judge in the case saying that Keating was a good man. He was definitely good to her. He had lent her his private jet and given her 1.4 million, the journalist said. But it doesn't stop there. Another controversy about her is in relation to the hospital she created, how the patients were treated and that the staff did not even have medical qualifications. Basically, it was a shelter to die. There is also controversy about her not managing these resources well, because the living conditions of the people in the institution run by the congregation, the sanitary conditions were very poor. Hamley Gonzalez, who volunteered at one of Teresa's hospitals, said, "The volunteers were not screened, trained, or had any medical experience." He saw nuns reusing needles after washing them in the tap. He also saw nuns washing clothes covered in feces and urine next to the silverware. But the most interesting thing is that he offered to install a water heater because he observed patients bath in ice cold water. He also offered other services to improve the general conditions, but the nuns simply said no, because that is how Jesus wants it. And it's worth to remember that this wasn't a lack of money. It was because of Mother Teresa's philosophy that suffering was a gift from God to bring us closer to Him. Of course, if we go hungry and don't treat our illness, we will go and shake God's hand personally. Reporter Donald McIntyre went undercover to one of Mother Teresa's homes, and there he witnessed people tied up like animals. He saw a boy with his ankles tied to a crib, a woman tied to a tree, and babies tied to clothes while being fed. It was human treatment, don't say it. Another controversy about her is about women's rights. In 1971, when it was reported that a woman in Bangladesh had become pregnant after being raped by Pakistani soldiers during the War of Independence, Mother Teresa's voice was not to combat the atrocities perpetrated by the military, but rather to advocate for women to continue with their pregnancies. It is interesting that Mother Teresa did not utter a word of condemnation of the soldiers' actions, nor even a word of sympathy for the woman. Her whole obsession was that raped women, if pregnant, should not have abortions. The doctor said she could have extended assistance to all tortured and abused women, but instead she chose to offer help until the birth of the raped women who had their babies. She also made it clear that a woman should not get divorced under any circumstance after all. In 1995, when a referendum was held in Ireland to decide whether to allow divorce and remarriage, Mother Teresa campaigned for a no vote. It was even said that an Irish woman married to a violent, incestuous alcoholic would have to endure and offer her sufferings as a sacrifice to God, Hitchens argued. But if there is something that I find very interesting in the story of Mother Teresa, is what she wrote in her diary. She made it clear that perhaps for most of her life she did not feel the presence of God. She prayed, she did everything with great discipline and diligence, but she lived in great darkness. She prayed and felt nothing in return. She did not feel loved by God, and for her, this was a great pain. There are also many controversies about her that I wouldn't be able to talk about them all here. That's why I recommend that you read the book The Missionary Position, Mother Teresa in Theory and Practice, and also the book Mother Teresa, The Untold Story by Arup Chatterjee. And if I can give you one piece of advice, it's don't put anyone on a pedestal. Unfortunately, history is full of people who sell an image of compassion and divinity, but their sweet faces are covered to hide their selfishness and ambition.